site, and over time that would make a big difference. And so this whole, who's to blame type thing that Jim brought up about water, and I just don't want us to get caught in the middle of the thing, and where it might be a bond issue that is going to have to be proposed or something like that, and you really got to protect our town interest on this thing, I think. And along with that, I think one of the town interests that is sort of associated with that is Marsh Road. Marsh Road that corridor is going to become a critical, I think, long-term challenge for us, along with the intersections off Middlefield near there. But the traffic, as well as the drainage, and I don't know to what extent we're looking at. I think that to do anything is going to take some grants, through CCAG or whatever it might be, type of thing, and so to the extent that we need to start thinking about money or something like that, and mitigation development projects and all that kind of thing, we need to really get a framework as to what we think may want to have long term there that the council could take a look at, and I think that's something that I would hope that you can get your hands around this next year with some sort of plan there. The other thing is very critical, I think, in your public works area is representing the town on other technical committees as well, whether it's Caltrain or CCAG or whatever it might be, but there are several technical committees that where they get information, a lot more information than what's sent on to council members, I think, as a source to keep us informed, as well, again, to represent the town and make sure that our interests are being well served there.
Mike, thank you very much. In your overview, the first page, you talk about management of streets, public facilities, and parks for the town. Maybe that was just an oversight, but we really only have one park, don't we? Do we have multiple parks that
There's one over here.
Some people refer to this little reading area park as a park.
In the library.
There's the library in the park.
Reading park.
Oh my goodness. We have a library in the park right here.
That's right.
Okay, I won't go there. So, all right. I never considered that. And so when you talk about updating the parks master plan, you're talking about Palmer Parks master plan. Are you talking about the landscaping plan that one of our residents? I don't know that I've seen a master plan of the park. I've seen the landscaping plan that sometimes gets confused.
Right. That's all we've seen as well. And again, this is being driven by the Parks and Recs Commission, and I think they're looking at really more of the land use of the park. I mean, as an example, with the preschool. Now, if they want to stay long term, they new facilities need to be provided. Well, there's an opportunity to possibly relocate them to some other location in the park. Just, especially with the new library being there, there's a lot of.
It seems like you're making the assumption that the library is definitely going to the park.
Well,
I mean, it seems like that's making that assumption. I'm not going to go there, but I just.
Well, I don't think it's dependent upon that. I think that there's a choke point, as I thought, right now, where that play school is, and I don't think it's a real safe spot. And there seem to be other possibilities that I've at least looked at, I would think, that where the parents wouldn't have to come all the way around to drop their kids off, but could be maybe closer to the city manager's house or someplace
exactly
like that.
the type of things
And
that
so
they're looking at.
and we really don't have, we're not bound by the will anymore of the Olive Palmer will that stipulated that no commercial enterprise would really be part of the park. You probably aren't that aware of it because you came after that kind of was guess, a legal opinion was rendered that said that because it hadn't been codified or ratified over the years, that the will no longer is like the overlay of what uses can and cannot be in the park. So you may not realize that, but that's true. That's what the library figured out when they did that. So I just wanted to understand that. And then the other thing that you were talking about that kind of gave me pause about the developing short-term facility repair and replacement, and you mentioned before the long-term range facility plans are in place regarding you said 5 to 7 years, and Councilmember Dolby and I looked at each other about the Newtown Center. I'm hoping that it's not going to take 7 years for the Newtown Center to get built. Is that what you're kind of anticipating?
Well, we don't know.
Yeah.
But what we do know is that these facilities, like some of the current facilities, something needs to be done.
Like the library, I understand the tiles are kind of falling off on the library roof. Can't we put some kind of a netting around it to
No, we
capture
might-
it or something?
We checked into that.
No,
Yeah,
it's not true.
It's not true, it's all wire.
So somebody was saying that it was all, okay,
You know,
okay,
the
well,
tiles
good.
aren't falling off the roof.
Okay, well, I guess the other thing has to do with the drainage criteria for new residents. Did we ever, so is that part of your core services about drainage on mitigation measures for new homes, construction?
Yeah, one of our core services is to ensure compliance. And what's on our goals is to revise the town grading and drainage standards. Again, as required by the new
Again, good,
permit.
yeah. Make it better, because the ones that are currently in force, I don't think in place, really work that well.
And now that we have the development roundtable in place, and what we've shared with them is that as, you know, begin developing the new grading and drainage standards, that we will come to them several times during the process to educate them, to get their feedback, so that, you know, whatever comes to council for your approval, it's not gonna be a surprise to them, and they'll definitely have input as far as what that final product looks like.
Thank you.
No questions? So I think the next phase
Is that
was.
your
Question.
public?
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. I'm not sure whether this falls here or in the next general session, but you're talking about road impacts. And if you read the draft EIR on Facebook, the level of service impact on Marshall and Middlefield is huge. And I feel very strongly that the city of Menlo Park has totally neglected the impacts of that project on other jurisdictions. And given the impact that's projected in the draft EIR on the Marshall-Middlefield intersection, I see absolutely no reason why the town of Atherton shouldn't insist that the mitigation responsibility for that impact rests with Facebook. And so I'm not sure, you know, I haven't seen anything in here about whose job that is. But I hope you don't pass up that opportunity, because I can guarantee you that Menlo Park will not look after your interests.
Don't you have Mike respond?
Yes, and actually, that's part of the core service of Public Works, and that's one of the bullets review private development plans and traffic impact studies. And that's what really that refers to. Because the traffic impact studies are actually generated not by the construction of a new home here in Atherton, but is the proposed developments around Atherton, so.
Well, I can just tell you from my experience on the fire district, the only way that you're going to get the city of Menlo Park to pay any attention at all is that the council members, the attorney, the town manager, every one of you needs to get engaged in this. There's big bucks involved.
Right.
And don't pass up this opportunity.
I agree with you, and it's also the gateway project. The gateway project as well, it's basically.
Well,
Yeah, the only problem with that is it doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon. And also, to some degree, the horse is out of the barn on the Gateway project, because that's all been approved and everything else. I'm not sure we can do any reach back on that, but I think opportunity to do something on the Facebook project
Absolutely.
before the town of Menlo, before the city of Menlo Park. You know, basically what the city of Menlo Park told the other jurisdictions on Gateway was, there's only so much money we can get from the developer, and we're gonna get it, and if you want money, you're gonna have to get it on your own. That's literally what they said to the other jurisdictions.
Well, apart from sending questions to the EIR on Facebook, Peter, what can we do? Can you advise us?
Pardon?
What can we do as far as the Facebook EIR goes to stop Menlo Park ignoring it?
We discussed at the
Well,
council
if you have to,
meeting.
you sue 'em.
They told us to go ahead and write it, you know, Steve recommended, and I brought it up at a council meeting, that he told us that we need to go directly to Facebook.
Yeah, that's what the fire district's done. The fire district just said, fine, you know, we're not gonna talk to the city anymore, we're gonna talk to Facebook. And Facebook has got a very big interest in moving this project ahead without delay. And the card that you have to play is, you know, basically say, hey, we're just gonna stand in the road on the approval of this project, and we're gonna hold it up. And if you hold it up for a month, or 2 months, or 3 months, or 4 months, that's big bucks to Facebook.
Can we hold it up?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we're actually looking at, as late as this morning, we were working on language to go to Menlo Park that says we want these mitigation measures included. If they don't include the mitigation measures that we're asking for, at a point in time, at an appropriate point in time, there will be the same process we're going through with the library EIR now, where we can come and make a comment that says, this EIR is not adequate because. And once we make that, if they do not implement the appropriate mitigation measures, we can sue them and force them to do that. In our opinion, the mitigation measures we're interested in have to do with traffic mitigation in the town of Atherton. And we are looking at that, and we are monitoring it, and we will continue to monitor it very closely.
Okay, good.
Why don't we have that as an update for a subsequent meeting?
Or maybe that ought to be also a goal, in a broader sense, in looking at these other projects and, you know, the mitigation measures and taking active action to ensure that we get our just dues on these things.
Good point. Good point. All right. But at the next meeting, why don't we see if maybe, or suggest that Neil comment on what the response has been from the letter that we'd submitted, and perhaps Bill could also comment on some steps that the council, make a recommendation on what the council might do, if the rest of the council is agreeable for that to go on to the April discussion. Okay.
So, Mr. Mayor, if I could, if we're done with this section, I just wanted to go over briefly what staff sees our next steps as being. This has been very helpful to us. We have a long list of, you know, we can call them goals, but they're a little bit more like tasks. And so is what we're proposing doing with this feedback is to bring it back to staff and kind of create a matrix that we're going to bring back to you that's kind of creating a hierarchy that's not really broken down by the boundaries of departments. So it would be a citywide matrix. And we will try to identify what we see as the strategic goals, or the big top goals that are built out of all of these tasks. And then kind of break them down towards objectives that would be laid out into the budget by department. And so that's what we're proposing to bring back to you. I don't want it to be a surprise, because it will be in a little bit of a different format. And we may combine some things that won't, I'd like to be able to put a framework together on one page that we can say, these are the council's strategic goals. And then, of course, within the budget document, we would list certain tasks. At the next meeting, we're also going to be a little bit frank with you about the resource allocation to get all of these things done, which will require a little bit of prioritization. We may be bringing to you things like, you know, this is going to take this much resource or this much money, so can we do it in this year, or is it more of a long-term plan that we need to plan for the future? So we can have that type of discussion.
So could we more or less just kind of, I've made some general comments, and I don't know if the other council members would like to just more or less summarize some key things that we discussed here.
Absolutely.
So, you know, just a general comment as I looked through all the presentations, and it wasn't appropriate to bring up at each presentation, but I think we should look at really the administrative support that we have here in the town, and each department needs a little bit here, a little bit there. And I know that in practicality that we're centralizing it, and we're kind of allocating it out. So just let's make sure we're looking at it in a consolidated manner, because we can't afford to have silo. A lot of great plans and a lot of costs and things like that, but the number one benefit, and I think you guys said it right at the beginning, was we need to have a balanced budget. The balanced budget, I think, I don't know for the rest of the council, but I believe that we need to have a little bit of cushion in that budget as well. So we shouldn't be planning on, here's our revenue projection, and it's 100%, we're gonna spend every penny of it, but we should spend, say, 90% of it, and then have that held back, because things will happen, and we don't, we'll have some unforeseen requirements to bring in a person here, bring in a person there, and cover that. So I would recommend that we have that potentially as a goal, or you all consider that. Again, I think on the internal rate of return, there's gonna be a lot of projects, but really what's the benefit? Some of them are required because they're infrastructure, but a lot of them were for productivity improvements, for improvement on transparency to the town. So maybe you can't put a value on all those things, but where we can put a value, we should try and develop an internal rate of return. We specifically spoke about taking a responsibility for Marsh Road and making sure that's very clearly identified. It gets in the capital plan almost every year, but we never do anything about it. I think time is now that we need to at least look at that. I think the goal should be making the town easy to do business with for the residents. So that should be an overall goal. A lot of it is going to be seen over in the public works and the community services area. We have to add the library. It came up, Councilmember Carlson rightly brought up that, hey, a big goal for this town is to move forward with the library as well as a new town center, and we need to have somebody owning that. It's got to fall into a department. Whatever we do, I think that there's going to be some schedules put up there. Peter brought up the fact that we need to improve our notification period. Let's go ahead and publicize that. And it'd been nice if we put page numbers on these charts so that when people refer to pages, everybody knows. And if they said Atherton somewhere on them, we do have a format that yours truly actually developed and passed on to the town. It's got our seal on it. It's got our green fabric. If you want to change it, that's fine. But if these things were just found on the street, no one would know, other than if they had the first page on it where it said Atherton. So I think they should say Atherton on every page. This is a kind of a, we're a professional organization here, and I'd like to see us at least follow through on some of those things. So that's a nit, but I think it's, I'd like to at least, as we move forward, but I love the presentation. Personally, I think this is great. This is where how our meeting should be, for me. Any other general comments from other council members?
I'll just add that I was very impressed with the structure, the straightforwardness, the clarity that the staff presented to us. This is my fourth time going through this on council, and this is the best preamble and bringing everybody along so everybody knows what they're on the same page. So thank you very much, staff. I think that you're doing a really great job pulling everything together, and take all of our comments and browbeating, with a good heart.
Jim?
Yeah, I would also just say that I think the staff's done an excellent job. We at least now have a structure for discussing things that I can't remember ever having a discussion like this before, at least while I've been on the council. So I would congratulate you. Thank you very much. I would also say that, just to repeat what I've already said, I think that revenue increase for this town is absolutely essential. Many years ago, I wrote letters to the city council, long before I was on the council, showing what would happen if we changed to a charter city and put in a real estate transfer tax. And that would bring in a substantial amount of money. I looked at all the other towns were doing, what they were charging, and that would be of significant benefits to us. I also feel strongly that when you look at what the road impact fee brought in, one year it brought in 1.6 million, the other year it brought in 1 million. Somewhere we need to reinstate a road impact fee or something like it. And we were told it was illegal, but despite that, every other town around us has something which they may not call with the same name, but they get substantial revenues for it. And therefore, I believe that if we push for additional revenues, it's possible that we might not need the parcel tax, and I'm sure every resident would be happy about that. So these are my comments.
My only comment is, good job, staff.
Good. Okay, so I think that concludes our presentation. So can we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Thank you for coming.
Right.